I had this one bike, had 8 frames on it, kind of like the one you might see in the picture. I made these custom forks where they were real long and swooped out. So it was a chopper, and then I bent the banana seat, and it looked cool. And I had these mock tires on it. They didn't have any rubber. They just had the wheels. And my dope dealer calls. Says, be at my house in 5 minutes. He lived maybe 12 or 15 minutes away. And I hopped on that bike, and I was riding from Pioneer and Del Amo to Pioneer and Carson, which is a couple of miles away. And by the time I got there, the wheels had flattened out. They bowed the other way. They were useless, but they were sparking as I was driving. And I was making good time too. And then I got there and I seen his car was there. I threw the bike down, ran into the house, and a couple hours later I come out and my bike was stolen.
Welcome. This show empowers you to confront and overcome addiction with real stories, inspiration, and a host of resources. Our growing community supports, uplifts, and takes action to enable a new way of living. Now, F3 Recovery brings you the Super Sober Podcast. Welcome to SSP number 42, Super Sober Podcast. Let's go. We are here and we are doing it again. Thanks for all the streams, the shout outs, emails, all that stuff. Super appreciate all the momentum. Just want to let you know I'm your host. My name is Brett C. My sobriety date is 4/21/03. I'm an RN with a BSN, been helping people out with this crazy convoluted disease addiction for a long time now. And we're doing a special episode here with an interview with one of my good bros, Kevin B. Go ahead and introduce yourself, sir, and your sobriety date.
How you doing? My name is Kevin Blue. I'm a grateful alcoholic. I have a sobriety date, October 28, 2000. That's where my gratitude comes in. And owner-operator of HB Air Duct, and I'm a deacon at His Place Church. You can find us at hisplace.com.
Heck yeah, let's go. Kevin B., it's been a while. I've had you in the chamber for a while. Thanks for the short notice and getting here. Appreciate it as always. And don't forget our producer here, Solomon at the Podcast Place in Long Beach, California. Yes, say hey, the best in the business. You can go from zero to podcast and get it done, man. You can get out of the analysis paralysis. And as always, we're going to do some rad sobriety milestone shout outs here with Ricky P with 1 year. Marcus A with 4 years, Seth with 12 years, Henry L with 13 years. Let's go. Yeah, some rad sobriety as always right there. And don't forget, it's tax season coming out, and don't forget to call Mike D. He's been on various episodes. He is the remote tax doctor. He is there to help you, not just around tax season, but all year round for any of your monetary tax needs. You can go to f3recovery.org and you can see him on the resources page. Thank you very much. So we're going to be doing a rad interview with my guy here, Kevin B. We've been bros for a long time and going to meetings for a long time. We're going to be going into 4 quarters as usual. And so let's just dump right into it. We're going to encapsulate many years of addiction to over 25 years of active recovery in 1 hour. Let's go. Yeah. So what's going on, Kevin? Let's do a little bit of how it was and then some war story and then go from there. What do you think?
I can definitely do that. What it was like or how it was, my story is probably no different than yours, except it happened to me and I reacted the way it happened. I was born into a loving family, had a mom that loved me, had a dad that loved me. I was the youngest. As you can see, I remember that picture very well. I was at the white front getting a picture taken, and the cameraman wouldn't let me hold the little car to distract me during the picture. But there's another picture of me there. Wow, takes me back. The first picture highlights the way I was before the drink got to me. I was selfish and self-centered to the extreme, and it was always about me.
Yeah, let's just go right there. For those that are listening out there in listening land, we're also on YouTube. You can see the pictures of the videos, and we're chronicling a couple pictures when he was really young, and then one sitting on a old banana bike seat, right? Oh man, those bikes were. Go ahead.
No, yes, I remember my family was kind of the envy of the family. They're the only parents that weren't divorced. I had a good meal every day. My father worked hard. My mother worked hard. I had siblings that loved me. I was a baby. And I had everything I wanted. Let's say I had everything I needed. I may not have had everything I wanted because, like I said, I was selfish and self-centered. I found out later in recovery that they highlighted me on page 63 of the big book, telling me that I am selfish and self-centered. And I lived that life that way all the way up, probably 12 and a half years old.
So where did you grow up?
I grew up in the city of Lakewood. Lakewood is the city of the future is what all the signs said. It had the
Yeah.
had the first mall. We had a great little league.
And what state is that in?
It's in beautiful. I'm sorry, I forget that we're talking to everybody.
Yeah, that's
And,
right.
it's in California. It's, I know there's many Lakewoods. It's beautiful. It's part of California, LA County. It's right there by the Long Beach border. My house ran along the 605 freeway. Cross streets were Pioneer and Del Amo.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Willow Elementary School, and that's where I grew up feeling different because I would walk into class on the first day, and the teachers would always tell me, "Oh, you're Billy Blue's little brother. You're going to be such a joy." And by lunchtime, my kindergarten teacher would have me behind the piano, and that was my punishment for whatever I did at that time. And I remember that's where I found my first love of music, being behind this piano. That when I was behind it and the teacher would play, I could see the repetition of the strings strumming, and I would know which string was coming up next, and I would grab it and mute that string, and she'd get mad. And music, my love for music was born. I found band in the 4th grade, and I was in a marching band with the school, and I loved that. I did that 4th, 5th, 6th grade, and it really taught me how to love music I never heard in my life, and it taught me how to respect music. And music's been my saving grace, even during the darker years of my addiction. My love for music is something that kept me. It was almost like I had an imaginary friend that would talk to me through music during my dark times.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can agree with that.
Right.
So you were 12 years old and living in Lakewood. You had everything you needed, and it's kind of where a lot of the children around your neighborhood had like broken households. And
Definitely. There's a lot of broken households. There's a lot of one family was a single dad raising 3 boys, and the rest were single moms or divorced moms or military dads. You know, we had a family down the street where the Waldecker family. He was World War II, vet and World War II hero, and we'd go play in their yard. And they had like a little tiki bar that we'd sneak around and drink stuff in when we were little. We didn't know.
How old were you when you took that first drink? Then let's go.
I was young, probably 8 or 9, but at the time the drink didn't take me, because what we were doing is we're mixing a little bit of everything and taking a drink, throwing up, and I don't like this. The first drink that really got me and said, "Hey, you're my friend," was a warm can of Olympia beer at the park. 12 and a half years old, and it was a hot August night. And some kids on the next street knew I just mowed a lawn and had some money, and they asked me if I wanted to go play. So I put down my Big Jims, parked my Big Jim sports camper, and went to the park. And next thing you know, we were smoking some Mexican weed and smoking some chamomile or Pall Mall non-filters and drinking this warm beer that I bought. And I liked it. I felt taller. I felt like I could be more confident. The problem was the math is not my best subject, but there's 3 guys. We had 6 beers, and I was on my 3rd, and they were telling me to slow down. And I remember I got sick that night, so sick that I had to put my foot down on the ground to stop the floor. I threw up in the trash can, and I thought to myself, I'm never going to smoke those non-filter cigarettes again.
Yeah, it had to be
the Mexican weed and the alcohol.
Yeah.
Was not a problem, and then I got caught that night. And my mom said something to me, and I know she said it out of love, because my mom she loved me. But she said, if you're going to do that stuff, do it at home. And what Kevin heard was party at Kevin's house, not her reality of don't be out on the street drinking beer and doing God knows what. And I turned my mom and dad's house into a party place for the next 30 plus years. Yeah.
So that progression between you dabbling at the tiki bar at your neighbor's World War II vet's house.
Mm-hmm.
So how old were you in this progression of, you're 1 of 7, you said?
4.
1 of 4. Where are you in that progression of the 4?
I'm the baby.
Okay, so you had an older brother?
Was
he like an influence in this? Or?
No, my older brother, Billy, was 10 years older than me. He was. I always thought that he should have had the drug addiction, being born in this, when he was, and graduate in the 60s. But he's always had 2 jobs. He always gave all his money to my parents. He did everything. At 17 or 18-year-old, He's buying my parents a color TV because they couldn't afford it. He ended up joining the military when he was 17, and it was at the end of the Vietnam War. And he ended up getting into the Coast Guard and made a really good career out of that. He didn't actually get to go to Vietnam, but he's a Vietnam vet.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, but who was your like older influence on this? Was it, or just all you knuckleheads around the
It was the
same age?
knuckleheads from the neighborhood, and then my sister, who was 8 years older than me, she would take me out cruising around and partying and stuff. But
Okay.
she didn't get me started per se, but she kind of, once she found out I was doing it, it's like, here, little brother. And my sister's always been my protector. My sister's always, I have very vivid memories of even in diapers. And I remember we were the only street that had a concrete driveway. And so everybody would roller skate on our driveway.
Oh.
And I remember my sister holding my hands and my feet on her roller skates, and we're rolling around and having fun. And so she's always been my protector. And when she had a job, I remember when I was probably 12, maybe 11 or 12, she bought me this faux leather jacket, and I looked like Fonzie. And I was like, hey,
Yeah, of course.
and it was
Happy Days was so
happy,
big back
yeah,
then.
and it was the coolest. I didn't care for this faux leather. I didn't know
Right.
anything about that. All I knew is when I looked in the mirror, I seen Kevin Fonzarelli.
Yeah,
I
Kevin
practiced my- hey.
Fonzarelli, let's go. Yeah, that was such a big show back then. So let's go for the progression into some. It happened quick for you from 8 to 12. You got busted the first time you got sick. You heard your mother tell you to not be on the streets. Let's get the party going for this war story of another. How many years? It sounds like about 25 more years of addiction between 12 and
From 12 to
36,
36,
right?
I was
Let's
in that.
go for the progression.
I was
right
that
here.
summer going from 7th grade to 8th grade. I wanted to be a guitar player, so my parents had
Me too.
they got me guitar in 7th grade, and I learned a little bit. And then in the 8th grade, I learned a little more, and I learned that when we would do practice or jams, that bringing beer and bring something, beer or weed or whatever you got. Those were my two crutches at first. Was just alcohol and any kind.
This is like late 70s, early 80s.
78.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
What a time.
yeah, it was definitely a good time. My sister would take me. She took me to my first outdoor concert, which I can remember this day like it just happened. Was at the Anaheim Stadium. Headlining act was Peter Frampton. The act before that was Jay Giles, and then we had Rick Derringer,
Let's go.
and then we had Foghat. So when
That was
Derringer,
your first big concert.
yeah, Derringer, Foghat, Jay Giles, and then Peter Frampton. And I loved Jay Giles. Never heard of him. Somehow I got me a harmonica, and that became my instrument of choice.
Oh, okay.
And I would try to emulate this guy. And it's back in the olden days when you had to lift up the needle and drop it again, and lift
Yep.
up, and then if your turntable wasn't the best, sometimes the song would be an A and sometimes it'd be an A flat. So that really threw it off, with a harmonica being a diatonic instrument that you don't tune. And my brother Bill took me to my first indoor concert, which was the Beach Boys at the Forum. And like I said, I guess my brother would be considered straight edge type of, didn't drink, and through his whole life.
Wow.
I seen him drink one beer, and I think he just wanted to see what it was like, and he didn't even finish it. And where I came from, if you opened up a piece of alcohol, if you opened up and you didn't drink it, that's alcohol abuse.
Right.
And it's not the way that I abused alcohol. My brother Fred was 2 years older than me, and he was the tough guy. He was the jock. I was the stoner, and he would do things to me like tell me to go into Senior Square on my first day of school, and I got dumped in the trash can. Things like that. But the progression,
Back in the hazing days.
in the hazing days, I even got swats in high school. I still remember that.
Mhm.
I was at that age. And the progression of this disease that I had, it didn't feel like, it just felt like doing the same thing over, and I would drink
Well,
more.
back in then, it was so accessible and the party was so cracking.
Right.
I mean,
I had parents that didn't drink, so we would take,
there's a picture right here with you, and this is your father?
that's my father, Billy Ray Blue,
Okay. And how old were you here?
12.
12 years old.
So this trip, we every summer we went somewhere. This trip we were coming back from, we always went to Texas, and we do things in between. You see that necklace on there. My cousin Les in New Mexico made that for me, and that was, we're on our way back. So that I know we're at some camp stop, and Mom wanted to get a picture, and it was probably the first time I felt being deprived of my addiction because I couldn't drink and I didn't have any weed. I didn't know where to get it. We smoked a little. I loved my cousins in New Mexico. They took me they lived in Farmington, New Mexico, and they said, let's go to the river. And the reason they wanted to go to the river is if they cross into Colorado, we can buy 5.0 beer. And I almost drowned on that trip because I dove into the water. I was drunk, and then the current took me under the thing. And I remember one of the cousins there telling me, if you get stuck, just keep kicking against the rock till you get out. By the time I got out, the water was probably this, high. It was just ankle high, but the current was so bad it kept taking me down. And it was just another adventure. And I loved it. And then we came back. I remember my cousins had given me a little joint to take home with me, but every time I fired it up in the back of the camper, my dad would be like, what's that smell? So he's really killing my buzz. And
At 15 years old.
yeah.
Just on and cracking.
Yeah. And, okay. Well,
this is like another 15-year-old, right? We were looking through the pictures, me and the wife, and she was all, wow, look at how good looking Kevin is. I don't know what happened now, but yeah, so I'm just kidding.
I was blessed with good looks. I didn't know it at the time. I was very shy.
Mm-hmm.
When, all these girls were in my friend zone. Nothing ever happened.
Mm-hmm.
We went places. So if you see the picture of me with no shirt on, we went to the Starwood to see Secret City and a la carte. And I rented a limo that night, and we had fun.
Yeah, right.
And it's just, God, life was good. My addiction really got out of control in the after I was 18, after I had a kid.
Wait, did you graduate high school?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah,
good.
I graduated with the continuation school. I actually graduated.
Oh, you graduated to a university continuation school.
I went to John H. Tracy High School, and I was so far ahead, they let me stop coming to school. I think it's because I was a nuisance and I was a rebel rouser, but I had the credits and my parents were happy. I had a diploma. I came back a year and a half later and did the walk down the aisle. And I think the main reason is because they found out that I had a baby on the way and they wanted me to re-enter. They wanted me to get into the mainstream of life. So I got a job right down the street from here. It's now a Target, but it used to be a Gymco. And I was...
Is this the relationship at 18?
I'm actually about 17 right there.
Wow.
And
that's your firstborn son?
That's my firstborn son. His name's Billy Ray Blue. I named him after my father. That's his mother. Her and I had one more kid. They're Irish twins.
At 17 years old, you had your first baby.
Yeah.
Wow. See, I'm learning stuff.
19, I had my second.
So how far into your disease right here? Let's go back to where you were at 18.
I was deep. I would, it was all, at the time it was all weed and beer, but that was my first primary. If I got paid, it was spent on, beer, or it was spent on weed.
And you were alluding that you were still living at home, right?
Yeah, I've been living at home for the first 35 years of my life, off and on.
Mm-hmm.
And
so you had this kid in the middle of your disease, and you got your first job.
Yeah, I did. I got the job pushing carts at the Gymco behind me. It used to be a Gymco.
Gymco. Yes.
I was the cart.
We're blasted from the past in this podcast, I'll tell you.
Then when the manager there, who didn't seem to like me, found out I was with child, my wife was with child, or my girl at the time, however you want to, was with child, he promoted me to sporting goods and told me to leave the carts behind. And so I went in, I got to work inside of there for a couple of years, but I was late every day. I was stoned every day. If I went for a 15-minute break, I'd smoke a joint thinking I needed to take the edge off. I didn't know what edge I was taking off,
Mm-hmm.
I'd come in stoned. I remember one guy coming asking for a foot massager. I said, yeah, I'll be right back. And I went outside to my car and started smoking more. And then he was pissed. I remember it just like yesterday. He was pissed. He wanted his foot massager. And that's where my addiction was. It took me away from reality to where the only thing that was important was me. And it got in front of my kids. It got in front of the relationship. It got in front of any musical aspirations I might have had. I used to, I wasn't playing in a band, so I was a roadie for a band. And I got to go do a lot of things and play for a lot of I was part of the band I worked with was part of the heavy metal explosion. And I got to see, to name drop, I got to see Wasp at a local club. I got to see Metallica, local club. I got to see Motley Crue when they were called London. I used to see Great White when they were Dante Fox. Rat, we did a tour with Rat, and we opened up for Dawkins and Great White at the Irvine Meadows, and that was that's when everybody thought it was going on. And that was our last gig. The band blew up because their heads got too big. And
So like all the partying and all that backyard stuff in those 80s were just unbelievable time to be partying. My opinion that the last greatest year of partying was 1989. But here we are in the 80s, so let's go ahead into some more of the war story going there.
yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, at that time, my biggest goal in life was to buy my own keg pump.
Yeah, right.
So what a difference a day makes, I'll tell you. The 80s, the 90s were definitely a blur for me. I had gotten into other drugs. I gotten into a little bit of heroin. I tried it and I liked it. And my friend said, if you like it, you better stay away from it. Then I got into crack, and crack was just crack was just one that really took me to my knees within 6 months. And then I had a girlfriend at the time that said, I don't have any of that, but try this. And it was meth. And I was like, hi, what's your name? And me and Crystal Meth had been friends for the next 15 years.
Yes, that was me too.
I cut out on my weed smoking, and I felt more clarity because I didn't realize I was loaded 24/7. I cut out on my drinking, so I stopped getting drunk in publics and things like that. One of my favorite drunken publics is when I played with the band in Palm Springs. The band was called Split Decision. I had the long hair that you've seen in the pictures. The band's name was on my chest, and my booking picture was a Polaroid that two cops had took, and they were holding me up, and there's puke in my locks and all over me. I was passed out, and they threw me on the bus. And I remember being so drunk that I knew I could have grabbed. Basically, they took all my possessions, and they took a picture, and they put it in a paper bag, and it was sitting next to me. And I could have walked off the bus, but King Alcohol was definitely my master that day, and I wrote it out and ended up going to jail for a drunken public, and that was fun. But as far as
Split Decision, that's a good name for it.
Yeah, it was a great band. It was they played great tunes. They didn't want a harmonica player, but they heard me and said, can you play on 10 or 12 songs? And I'm like, yeah. And it was just fun. I mean, we did a version of LA Woman by the Doors with some harmonica in it, and then we did Roadhouse Blues, which is a great harmonica song as it is, and just a bunch of other songs that we did. The guitar player and bass player, the guys that were the writers or the producers of what came out, they just had a great ear, and they're like, hey, we want to hear harmonica on this, and at the time I was like, there's no harmonica on it, and they're like, do it, and then we did it, and it was different. We had fun, and then over time, that band they're from the Valley, they just split away, but it was definitely a fun time.
So you became a meth amphibian, just like me.
Yes.
And so how many years? You said 15 years on that. How quick did that bring you? I mean, we already know it hits quick, but it lasted for 15 years.
Yeah, from 29 to 36, give or take. That was my main drug of choice.
7 years of drug of choice there.
That was my main.
How hard that hit for 7 years?
It was to the point where if I was going to spend any money on my addiction, that would be it. I didn't have to buy clothes. My two main things that I needed to spend money on was fuel and drugs, and it just got worse. I remember I lived at my mom's house. My parents were my best hostages. They took care of me. They felt sorry for me. They didn't understand tough love. Thank God. They never heard of the words Al-Anon, and they ended up being my best hostages until my father went and passed away, and then my mother was just done with me. I remember at the end, she had slowed the car down and pushed the door open and kicked me out, and it was still moving. She says, I love you, but I hate you. So that was her first brand of tough love. But I like to recycle. But what I mean by that is I would like to dumpster dive and trash, In the city of Cerritos, which was a neighboring city, every 6 months they had something called Heavy Night where they let you throw your heavy stuff. So I would go. Originally, I got hooked on that because my neighbor would pay me $5 for each washer or dryer that I bought him, and he would restore them and sell them and make money. Then it got up to $10. And then I started finding more stuff that I liked than what he liked. Bicycles, just whatever, anything that was shiny. And before you know it, I had probably, if I told you I had 100 different bicycles in my backyard, it'd probably be an underestimate. But at the time, I thought I had like I didn't understand that you can't take a Murray frame and put a Schoen sprocket on it. It just doesn't work. And I remember
Typical
one time,
tweaker stuff. We start hoarding.
I remember one time, and it was the day Princess Diana died. So that's how I know what day it was. I had this bike. I was really good at painting bikes. My brother-in-law was an ex-biker, and he showed me how to paint bikes. So I would go out there and hang them on the tree and paint them, let it dry, clear coat it, let it dry. Then I would take inner tubes and light them on fire when the clear coat was on it, and I'd spin it around so it'd do these crazy smoke flames on the frames, and everybody loved it. But at that point, I was so impatient. Wanting my instant gratitude, I'd try to put the bike together and just mess up the paint job. But I had this one bike, had 8 frames on it, kind of like the one you might see in the picture. And I bought I made these custom forks where they were real long and swooped out. So it was a chopper, and then I bent the banana seat, and it looked cool. And I was putting it all together, and I had these mock tires on it. They didn't have any rubber. They just had the wheels. And my dope dealer calls. Says, be at my house in 5 minutes. I'm leaving. And he lived he probably lived 12 or 15 minutes away, when you have no car. And I hopped on that bike, and I was riding from Pioneer and Del Amo to Pioneer and Carson, which is a couple good city blocks away, a couple miles away. And by the time I'd got there, the wheels on my tires with no rubber had flattened out. They kind of bowed the other way. They were useless, but they were sparking as I was driving. And I was making good time too. And then I got there, and I seen his car was there. I threw the bike down, ran into the house, and a couple hours later I come out and my bike was stolen. And I just always remember that story of me riding that thing with no rubber, man, sparks flying, and
whatever it takes, right?
It was whatever. He said 5 minutes. I didn't want to question him.
Yeah, that's right. So you got there. All right. We're halfway through the podcast right here. We're going to continue with some more war story, but we are going to go to our commercial, the one who keeps the lights on here for a few minutes and pays the bills at SSP. And that is His House New Creation. If you need any help anywhere, you can just call this number. That is 877-345-4138. That number again is 877-345-4138. And just give a call now. You can get help anywhere at any time. And that's His House New Creation. We'll be right back.
At Embrace Life Change, your journey to mental wellness begins in a place where understanding meets action, where care is personalized and recovery is achievable. With over 30 years of experience, our expert team offers a range of evidence-based treatments tailored to each individual's needs. From anxiety and depression to complex psychiatric disorders, our comprehensive approach includes cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness practices, and innovative programs designed for deep healing. Our small treatment groups ensure personalized care, fostering stronger connections, and a supportive community that empowers your recovery journey. Hear from those who've embraced change and found hope, healing, and a path to a better life with us. Embrace Life Change is more than a treatment center. It is a place where lasting change begins. If you or someone you love is seeking help, call us first. Let's take that first step together towards a brighter future. Embrace Life Change, nurturing mental health, where hope and healing meet.
All right. Thanks for taking a couple minutes there to listen into His House New Creation. We're going to be back here with Kevin B on the last half of Super Sober Podcast number 42. Go ahead and we're going to pick up where we left off here. You got another about 5 years really quick. We'll encapsulate that on the end of your war story, and we'll get into how you got sober and where you're at now. How does that sound?
Sounds good. I talked earlier about music being my friend, my imaginary friend. I've been blessed with the gift to make a harmonica sing. I never had lessons. I couldn't make my guitar sing the way my harmonica did, which was weird. I've been playing guitar forever. I know chords, I know songs, but just a million excuses. And for some reason, the harmonica, everybody wanted to hear it. And then the way I was playing it with rock bands. And I got introduced through the blues through the back door by Jay Giles, and I heard who the harmonica player was, who his influences were. I love the harmonica playing of Willie Nelson. Mickey Raphael is one of my favorites. So by having that invisible friend, that helped me through my addiction, because I started booking bands, and the first negotiation was, a bar tab for the band before money. We need a bar tab. We won't play. No, okay. And so, you get a bunch of people that get to drink for free. They don't worry about the money. Then we get paid. And I had one guy, he owned a place called the Gold Brick Bar in Wine Gardens, and he would pay me. He'd give us free alcohol, free food, and they served roasted chicken. So it was a big, big, big win. And then he'd give me this methamphetamine. He gave me one that was the size of an orange once. And he goes, "Here, is that enough?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So I tried to book the band there a lot. And we played a lot, and we had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. I took that thing a lot of places. I've actually got to record with people, and I've done more, with my music. But it got to be a really bad part of my addiction, because even as much as I loved playing, especially if they pay me, now I got to go get something to make me feel different. And that's kind of where it was at.
Well, what was the big point where your rock bottom was?
You know what? It just gotten worse. It got to the point where it wasn't working. I had a young son. He was Mitchell. He was born in '93, and so he was about 7. He gives a 6 or 7, and I couldn't see him unless I went to church. And and it just got to a point where I started seeing real things. The other kids that I had, I still got to see them, even though the mother and I were never on good terms. Even when we were together, we weren't. And that really hit hard. Then my father passed away, and he died at the VA hospital down the street. And, it just wasn't working. And then I remember one day, it was the 28th of October, 4:45 in the afternoon. And I was doing all kinds of methamphetamines, and I felt like it wasn't working. But when people would see me, I would look like a raccoon with the big eyes, and I was sucked up. Like, I looked like this, when I came in, I was probably 120 pounds. All my teeth were gone, and I looked like a supermodel with my, I looked like Mick Jagger on a hunger strike with the ribs hanging out and stuff. And I couldn't see that. I remember August, 2 months, September, October, August, 2 months before I got sober, I went to the DMV to get an ID, and I thought I looked good. I still have the picture. It's the one I couldn't find. And I had 2 layers. I had a wife beater, and then I had a tank top, and I was trying to look good. And the lady, she kept taking the picture over because I was shaking so bad. And that was, and I remember leaving the house thinking I looked good, and then this friend of mine who had known me from 20 years past was there that day. She goes, "Oh my God, dude, what are you doing at the DMV? You're a mess. How did you get here?" And it was just a bunch of questions, the kind of questions my mom didn't understand. She always blamed herself. "You're probably an addict because of me." And I go, "Why would you say that?" When my father died, it really, at the end, my father, I used the excuse that I was their caregiver when I'd sneak people in at night or whatever. And the real truth is they're my caregiver. That's where I got any money. I mean, I had great jobs throughout my whole life. Job abandonment was probably one of my best, was always on my, not my resume, but why did you leave? Job abandonment. United Parcel Service. I worked there 9 years. I was just a couple weeks away from being vested where I'd have some kind of security, in retirement a little bit, but that didn't work. I was an iron worker, and I just did all kinds of crazy stuff.
And that was all in your disease too.
All in my disease.
And then you ended up getting sober when on that 28th October,
4:45.
You went into like sober living and stuff, right?
Kind of, yeah. I was sitting on the side of this house where my grandson Mitchell's grandma owned, and I wasn't welcome there. But I was sitting on the side of the house, and it was raining. I had a wife beater on and some shorts that I made out of pants, and I was a mess, and I was just crying, asking for help. And I just heard a voice, I heard an audible say, "Get up." And I thought it was somebody like, "The cops are here, get up." I got up. And when I got up, I seriously was struck sober. I never felt that sober my whole life.
I don't think I ever heard this. Let's go.
And it was like, I stood up and I felt like I had, 200 pounds of lead blankets on me. They fell down, And then I just heard a voice tell me to, leave. And at the whole time I'm thinking, so I'm looking around thinking, is it the cops? Then I had left. This whole time I was crying. I ran out of gas on the corner of Newland, and I was actually on Warner and Newland. I was going to get onto the freeway, and I ran out of gas in the left turning lane. And I walked over to my mother-in-law's house, and then I was able to call my mom. My mom came and got me after I'd been struck sober, and she was very mad. This was like the day before was when she threw me out of that slow-moving car. And she met me at the gas station, and I thought I had it going on because I always ran out of gas, but I had a gas can. So if I ran out, I'd be able to get gas. And my mom threw me a 20, and I'm like, gas tank, you were talking $1.50 a gallon. So I'm going to put $1.50 in the gas tank, get me home, or I can go to my dealer's house and get me $17 worth of whatever. And I had a moment of clarity, and I found out over time that I'm blessed with many moments of clarity. And this was my first moment of clarity from the time that I heard get up. And it says, go home and rest. And so I just put all the money in the tank so I wouldn't have a fleeting ideal to go get more stuff later. And I came home, rested. Then I went back sober 2 days later to my haunts, and everybody that I got high with knew something was up. What's up with you, bro? I'm like, I didn't even know the word sober. I'm clean. Yeah. I didn't even know that, and they're like, what do you mean you're clean? And I tried to explain what happened. They go, oh, you're on drugs. And I go, I was on drugs, but now I'm not. I'm not craving it. And I thought I could go to their house and sit with them, and they'd pass it around. And I'd be like, and I was better than that. But there's a girl there. She's dead now. She had an aneurysm from doing too much.
So how did you stay sober? How did you get to sober living?
Well, she told me I was ruining her high, and she threw a phone book at me. And when she threw the phone book at me, I opened it up recovery, and I seen come back recovery.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was in red, and it said, come back, come back home. Something like that. So I went in.
Wow. So you called that number?
I called that number.
God threw a phone book into your tweaker?
The tweaker hit me with the phone book, and when it opened up, it was there. It was like it was there, open. And I called, and then I made an appointment. And then she said, all right, come on down. We're going to do the interview. So I went down, got my mom, and she told me how much was this, $250 for $125 a week. I needed 2 weeks. I told my mom, and I sat her down thinking I was going to break the hard news to her that I have an addiction. And
shock.
And she says, son, I've known this for years. And it was me coming out. You watch these movies of folks coming out, from being gay or whatever, and the parents already knew. It's like my mom knew. She says, that's all I wanted. And she goes, what do you need from me? And I go, well, it's $250 to go. And she pulled out her money, and I said, and I had another moment of clarity where I knew $18 wouldn't do it, but $250 might.
Yeah.
So I said, I need you to drive me. Yeah. She's like, why? I go, if you give me that money, I won't go. And she's like, I don't understand. I go, I don't understand either. I know.
Just know
I just know. And these little baby bits and moments of clarity. And so I went. They took me in. And since I had my dad's van who just passed, it was a big Dodge Ram van, they made me assistant manager because I was able to haul people to and from.
That's crazy. How long were you at that sober living?
Oh, it was the first day. They saw the van.
Oh,
yeah. So I'm like,
let's go. Like,
I thought,
how long were you in sober living for?
Well, this was day one, and I got a place, and it was a comeback. They had the houses aren't there anymore, but they had garages, and they called them the dorm. And that's where I met Demetrius at during that time. And they had the dorms with all the beds. And so since I was the newest.
So you and D went through the same.
Time.
Demetrius, he was already there.
Yeah, he has more time.
He's got like
he was managing a different house or something, but he had something I wanted.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Demetrius had something I wanted, and I didn't know what it was. I think it was his confidence to walk in and out of a room without looking for me. And so they put me into this little recovery dorm, and I was in the first bed, and then we went to a Wednesday night meeting at the Chapman house. And so if you're a manager / assistant manager or a caterer, van driving people around, you had to wait after the meeting was over. So it was a meeting after the meeting, and Bart Allen was there talking. And if you know Bart Allen, and his story is his story, but at that time, the first week of November, that guy said stuff that kept me sober. And he asked me, who's your sponsor? And I didn't know what a sponsor was, but I was a know-it-all. I knew everything. And I tried to tell you how to do whatever, right? And he goes, I need your sponsor's name and number. So I write it down, and he goes, Pearl Blue? Who's that? And I go, it's my mom. Is she in the program? Oh, God, no. He goes, why is she your sponsor? And then all I knew about sponsor was like when I watched NASCAR and everybody's got the stickers.
Right.
And he goes, do you know what a sponsor is in the rooms of recovery? And I go, someone's going to pay him away. And he's like, no, a sponsor is someone to give you knowledge of a program you know nothing about. And then they said he started dropping some nuggets out of the big book that I hadn't read yet. He said things like, he was so mean to me. He told me that I needed to be self-supporting through my own contributions. Right. Told me I needed a job.
So
it's
between there and now, I mean, encapsulate that pretty quickly.
Yeah, that was 5 days.
Okay.
Told me he called my mom at 11 o'clock at night during the meeting and said, are you Kevin Blue's son? She said, oh my God, what's mom going to think? He's dead. And well, I'm the director at the recovery house, and we will no longer be taking money from you. If your son can't pay his own way, then that's his own deal. So they made me get a job. They made me be self-supporting through my own contributions. In the year 2000, $125 a week was a lot of money.
Yeah.
That was Jed Clampett money type of, to me. And my mom loved it. She said, thank God I've been, in a nice way. I've been wiping his ass since he was born. And I got a job.
What a relief for mom.
There was a guy in the recovery house. His name was Shad. And I always say that because Shad taught me things. I thought when you walked through the rooms, everybody was struck sober and everybody was on the up and narrow. I didn't understand that most people were loitering with the intent to get sober. Shad was one of those individuals, but he taught me a lot about AA etiquette, and he taught me a lot of things. And then he told me he was an air duct cleaner. I go, what's that? He goes, why clean air ducts? And he explained to me. And I was a carpet cleaner. And he goes, oh, we go hand in hand. So we went to a place the next day, November 7th, to get a job. They told Shad to kick rocks since he's loaded. And I thought, that's mean to them. And the guy knew. He's like, you're loaded, dude. You're not working for me. I could work with. Sam Martin took me under his wing. And for 11 or 12 months, he taught me how to clean. I knew how to clean carpets really well, but he taught me about air ducts. And here I am now, 25 years later, with the #1 air duct cleaning company. Still friends with Sam Martin, and I still thank him every day for what he did. And so from that meeting, I had to get a sponsor, and that was another thing. And so throughout asking a bunch of different people, the wrong people, I ended up with a man named Cleve.
Yep.
Shout out to Cleve, coming up on 37 years.
Yeah.
And
third.
It's March 3rd. And Cleve taught me things that nobody else would teach me. I got more out of him in 1 hour than I got out of people in a lifetime. And he had 22 years, 8 months in the military and 20 years at the post office. Mm-hmm. And he had me get a big book. And I had one that I had stolen because when I got here, I was a liar, cheat, and a thief. And I told I needed a big book like my life depended on it. So I stole one from the recovery house. He told me I had to buy my own. And he told me I had to get pencil, pen, 3 different markers, and a notepad. And he took me through the causes and conditions. He taught me that this big book is a textbook.
This is the first big book we've had on set here.
Well,
and you had a couple things you wanted to read out of it too, right?
Well, I'll tell you this. When I got here, my head wanted me dead and settled for drunk.
That's right. And
Cleve had me get a big book, and he had me go through the big book, and he defined it. First thing he told me was study the first page. Come back. Don't call me for a week. Come back in a week. And you know what's on the first page of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous? Absolutely nothing. It's blank. And you flip it over, it's blank. And then there's a triangle. And I thought, man, I hired a moron. And I was going to fire him. And when I got there, because once again, I was a know-it-all. I knew everything. If I didn't know it, I'd fake it. And when I met up with Cleve, he goes, what's on the first page? And I said, absolutely nothing. And he stopped me. He goes, good. That's probably what you know about staying sober. If you shut up and listen. Because this know-it-all thought about rewriting the big book, and Cleve's suggestion was to reread it. And he took me through the big book, and he had me underline words that I did not know. I'd still do it today with anything I read. If I don't know what the word is, I underline it, I define it, and I write it in the margins. He taught me about the causes and conditions. He taught me that the big book's a textbook. He taught me that a textbook is to learn on a subject I know nothing about. He taught me about unity, service, and recovery. He taught me how to be an asset. He taught me that a lot of people like to use AA slogans as, in God's time. Yeah, you don't have to be an idiot, blaming it on God. Or the other one was acceptance. He goes, hey, you only have to be an acceptance of acceptable behavior. If somebody's doing something that's not right, you have to get your boundaries out. And I'm thankful today. And then once we done that, I got a guy from a group called Dog on the Roof, Dave. Dave was great to me. And then stuff happened and we outgrew each other and I just didn't fit in. And I ended up with Easy Ramos. Easy Ramos has been my sponsor for 22 years. He's got a sobriety date of June 12th, 1990. He's from Tucson, Arizona. He used to live in Anaheim. And he's been more like a earthly father to me than anything. He watched me raise 2 infant grandkids in sobriety because their mother and father was not able to do it. And I was given a baby in sobriety, Amanda Pearl. She was brand new, and I took her to a 6 a.m. meeting. And people were like, where'd you get that baby? Slow Eddie's like, where'd you get that baby? And I told him, he goes, take it back. And then he started laughing. He goes, man, this is 3.5, 4 years sobriety. He said, man, I want to tell you something. Eddie, you know Eddie, right? Slow Eddie?
No, I don't think so.
Old colored guy from the south side of Chicago. And he always put some grit to his words. And he was a great baritone singer. And he, at that time, he couldn't stay sober, but he had a lot of years of experience. So he threw a lot of good nuggets. And he said, I just want you to know God ain't no pimp. I go, what do you mean God ain't no pimp? He goes, I seen you on your knees praying for a girl in your life. You need to be specific. I got a girl in my life. Her name was Amanda Pearl. She was an infant. She was addicted to heroin. And I was her caregiver. And I got to take her to the morning meetings with me. And there was girls in there because a lot of girls in their addiction lose their babies. They give them up, whatever. Things happen. And there was girls that would walk up and ask, can I hold your baby? Another thing they did is some of the women, the beauty of AA is when you see somebody walk in, you see them go from who they are to a lady. And some of these ladies showed me how to dress her and how to feed her and things like that and how to change a diaper and different things. And I was just very grateful for that, man. And Amanda and I have been, well, she's 22 now.
That's crazy. So 22 years later, 25 years of recovery now. Let's see where you're at now. So it's gone by super quick as always on SSP here, but now you're a deacon of your church. You can marry and bury. I mean, there's so much stuff going on. You're now inserted completely as a father. You've gotten remarried. You got an awesome wife. You're a successful business owner. Everything is just happening for you, and you're still doing it. So let's go to one of those first videos here, because what's happened recently in the last 2 or 3 years is Kevin's got me into being a baseball fan. So this is like some of the huge blessings of so many blessings and so many stories of transformation and people that have gotten us through where we need to get through. But Kevin has had me getting through to going to baseball games and all of that. And it's pretty cool. So let's go to that first video right here of what Kevin is to, he's got grandkids and what he does in making a legacy of himself with him and his wife at the Angels baseball game.
Your Angels in Title One are proud to recognize our season ticket holders of the game. Tonight we welcome Kevin and Diana Blue from Midway City. They've been season seat holders since 2023. There they are. We'd like to thank all of our season ticket holders for your support of Angels baseball. So thank you, Kevin and Diana.
And then he's got an unbelievable grandkid named Link, short for Lincoln. Let's go to that next video real quick there, Solomon.
And now, fans, it's time for Steel Third, presented by Memorial Care. Tonight, we welcome 10-year-old Lincoln from Huntington Beach. And Lincoln's going to have 20 seconds to run from left field foul pole area to third base, steal it, and return. If he makes it back in time, he gets to keep that base. All right, Lincoln, on your mark, get set, go. All right, a little slip at the beginning. Let's see if that factors in. Clock is moving pretty quick. All right, time is slipping away. Wagaman right in front of the bag, but now it's Lincoln's turn. He's stolen third. He's racing back. Will we have a winner? It's going to be close. Angel Stadium, cheer him on. Yes! Wow! Just in the nick of time. Lincoln's going home with his own official Major League base. Congratulations.
Yeah, and let's hit this. He's been talking a lot about his music. Let's just hear a little bit of it here with him jamming at a blues festival or something. Let's hit that last video there, Solomon. There you go, wrapping it up right here. We got a picture of him on stage right there too, man. If you want to see it, all of that right there, but you heard a good moment of it right there for listening people. But you can always see us on YouTube and everything. Let's break down the last few minutes right here, where we're at right now, how you're feeling about things. Anything else you want to make on some last closings on SSP 42?
Okay, well, like I said, my head wanted me dead and it settled for drunk. My head was my worst enemy. When I got into recovery, I had a sponsor that challenged me to go through the big book and find me in each chapter. And it showed me that I am not uniquely different like I want to be, like I want to think. And it showed me that when other people feel the way I do and they recover, I can feel that way. And what I found is in Bill's story, is on page 8, it tells me that no words can tell of the loneliness and the despair found in that bitter morass of self-pity. Self-pity was my major killer, So it said, quicksand stretched around me in all directions. I'd met my match. I'd been overwhelmed, and alcohol was my master. And what I found by going through the big book was over time, I found a God of my understanding. And I had a pastor explain to me that in the big book, when it says to find a God of your understanding, it was a capital G. And that means God of the universe. And so what I also liked from Alcoholics number 3, when he says, I came to AA solely for the purpose of sobriety, but it had been through AA that I found God and so much more. And I feel that's the most wonderful thing that I could do. And there was that. This God that I found has really transformed me. He showed me, I got a God that loves me. I got a God that knitted me in my mother's womb. I got a God that knows every hair on my head. I got a God that loves me so much. Here's a phrase I like to use. It says, the devil knows my name, but he calls me by my sin. God knows my sin, but he calls me by my name. The beauty of this God is he's big enough to share. And I'm not a turn and burn type of guy. I don't try to convert you. I just show what I got. I got a really nice 52 pickup. A lot of people want it. How'd you get that? Well, I bought it. And then when they want to know how I got this relationship with this God of my understanding, my God of my understanding, how do you understand a guy that heals the sick and raises the dead, yells out, Lazarus, come out of that tomb? He tells those parents, your daughter's not dead. She's sleeping. Things like that. And, being a deacon in his place church has been really, really cool. I've been into the God thing for the last 20 plus years. I got baptized at Huntington Beach Church through a church called Seabreeze that I used to go to. And I became a chaplain there. And now today I'm getting my master's of deity. You're talking about a knucklehead that couldn't even get a B or a D in school. And I'm carrying a 4.3 GPA. I've been doing this for the last almost 3 years, and it's all God. I have this God that loves me, and I like to share it when asked. And if you don't ask about it, that's okay. And I built this business up from when Sam and I parted ways. that was when I started this business, August 1st, 2001. So that we're coming up on our 25th year. And now if you Google my company, hbairduct.com, you'll see how favored we are in the community. You'll see the reviews and people saying things about me that I didn't think I earned. And, one of the best things is when I met my wife. We met online. And
Oh, look at that picture.
yeah, I love her. I tell you what, she's definitely my Proverbs 31 woman. My Proverbs 31 woman. When I met her, I got to meet her family and her parents, who had immigrated from Colombia in 1963, and I had to ask them for her hand in marriage. I was old school, and that's what I wanted to do. And her parents said things like, her mother told me it'd be an honor for you to be my son-in-law. And her father was very gracious to me, and he's since passed. So it's been rough because she's taking care of mom, and we have our living arrangements are a little different. We're still get along great. We're still married. We still love each other, but she has to take care of her mom first. And when she feels bad about that, I to let her know if my mom was alive, I'd want the same thing. And being a man of God is tough because when people disagree with you, they want to say things like, you Christians, and like, oh, okay, that's like, picking on me because of my race, or saying I'm racist because of what? I married a Colombian woman, and I say my TV's made in China. How could I be that? But anyways, I have a life that's so good today. When I got here, they told me I'd have a life beyond my wildest dreams, and they also say in the promises that we will be amazed before we're halfway through it. I don't know if I'm halfway through it. I mean, I'm 62 years old. I got 25 years of sobriety, and I'm the healthiest I've ever been. I had a stroke in 2018, and that really turned my life around. And I saw how compassionate my wife was for me, and how she nursed me and took care of me. And thank God it wasn't a major stroke. I still have some debilitations, but when I got here, I was told that I needed to stop convalescing in the sickness it brought me. I was told that I needed to re-enter the mainstream of life. And that was kind of hard for a knucklehead like me, because I never really was part of the mainstream of life. I had nicknames in places that I worked. Some bosses would call me Blue Deanie because I would disappear. Other places would call me, this is a spin off my last name, Blue, but they'd call me Blueser because I was a loser. And those hurt. And I found out later that I'm ADHD and I get hurt real easy and I'm sensitive. But that's good. I got a wife that loves me. And she brought 2 kids to the marriage that really are outstanding. And I have 2 kids from another marriage. We weren't married, but you'll see their pictures in there. And then I have 2 adopted kids, Mitchell and Kylie. And I met their mother when she was pregnant with Mitchell, and I've been raising Mitchell as his dad ever since. And these are blessings. I since had found out probably 5 years ago by DNA that I'm a product of rape.
Well,
So
that's pretty heavy duty stuff, but if you have any last words on it, because
I'll keep it short.
Yeah.
It hit hard because my dad was the greatest dad. Everybody wanted him. And when I found out that Billy Blue wasn't my biological father, it hurt. But I realized that he knew, and he raised me, and he never let me know.
Wow.
And so it just means a difference. And the beauty is I got 14 half brothers and sisters because the guy was a serial rapist. And when you do Ancestry.com and people are looking for their family, and I met somebody in New York, some DNA says she's my half sister, other DNA says she's my first cousin, and we've formed a friendship. And it's helped a lot. It hurt, but you can't take away. My last name's Blue, and I'm going to keep it. And I would not have found any of this out. I would have not had that granddaughter to take care of if I wasn't sober. And now she's 22 years old, and she's kicking butt at Georgia. And then it's just, I'm blessed. Some people say count your blessings and start over.
Wow. Well, this is another unbelievable story, man. Thank you. That going towards the end there, man, that's a whole nother podcast. So maybe in the future we'll get him back in. So I just want to say thank you very much for coming on SSP 42. This is another amazing story of transformation. We encapsulated so many years of 62 years of addiction and recovery as best as we could in an hour-long podcast. So just wanted to give out some shout-outs. on the end of SSP. We're on all platforms. We can be reached in our emails at info@supersoberpodcast.org, info@f3recovery.org with the 2 emails. Just let us know what's going on. We're on all platforms, Spotify, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Buzzsprout, a universal platform. Shout out. Then we also want to shout out The Detox, The Story of Addiction, the Deadliest Disease that Man's Ever Known, a streaming series that I wrote for addiction. So we have something to binge watch in recovery. It still hasn't been done. Shout out to Notorious JID, the first mascot of recovery here. And then shout out to Solomon here again at the podcast place in Long Beach, California. Just want to let you know, we appreciate all of you out there listening. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns for Kevin, or if you need someone to marry or bury, he's your guy.
I'm your guy.
We're in the community. Unbelievable story. And don't forget to keep on keeping on.
Thank you for listening to the Super Sober Podcast. Go to our website at f3recovery.org. That's F3Recovery, all one word, .org. We're turning fight, flight, and freeze into free form and flow through practicing the 12 steps and staying accountable to change. Don't forget to keep on keeping on.